as investigators now search for what led to this attack. People in Bryan dealing with what's become an all too familiar situation.
We live in this nation that got all the blessings, and I don't know why this happened.
And this morning, we are not even halfway through April, but according to a group that tracks gun violence, this is now the 14th mass shooting in the U.S. this month alone. Savannah?
All right, Morgan Chesky, thank you. We have breaking news this morning. We are going to pause one moment and allow our stations across the country to join us.
From NBC News, this is a special report. Here's Savannah Guthrie and Hoda Kotb.
And good morning to those just joining us here in New York. We have breaking news from Buckingham Palace this morning. Prince Philip, the husband of Queen Elizabeth, the Duke of Edinburgh, a fixture of British life for decades, has passed away at the age of 99, just weeks before his 100th birthday. We just received a statement from the palace. It is with deep sorrow that Her Majesty the Queen announces the death of her beloved husband, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. His Royal Highness passed away peacefully this morning at Windsor Castle. Further announcements will be made in due course. The royal family joined with people around the world in mourning his loss. That coming out just moments ago, Hoda.
It did, yeah. He was 99 years old. In fact, he was due to celebrate a birthday, his 100th birthday, coming up in June. And of course, Philip had largely withdrawn from public life in recent years, and that was due to failing health. He was 5 years older than the Queen. He was her constant companion, her closest confidant. Their marriage was started back in 1947. They'd been married, think about this, for 73 years.
And imagine all that they have gone through together and how they've seen the world change from that particular vantage point. Let's go to NBC's Matt Bradley, who is in London for us this morning with this breaking news. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. This is a devastating news for the royal family and for Britons throughout the country. Of course, as you mentioned, the prince was only just a couple of weeks shy of his 100th birthday, and this was a life filled with pain and joy. He saw so much of the 20th century, so much history, and now, of course, it ended with the royal family in the midst of so much scandal and so much of an effort to reinvent itself. And, you know, Prince Philip, of course, was a major part of the royal family's own reinvention throughout his lifetime. He really brought to the royal family a sense of reaching out to the public, of actually reaching out and being less of an aloof royal family and more of a family that was just a family. And in the end of the day, that's what we're seeing today. A family that is going through a tragedy, one that has, in just the recent past, gone through very, very public turmoil. And for the next couple of weeks, I think we're going to see a lot more sympathy, a lot more people who are going to be looking at the royal family as just that, as not just an institution, not just a part of the Constitution, and not just fodder for tabloids, but as a grieving entity that really has to deal with its own struggles, guys.
Well, he was certainly the patriarch of that family. We don't know the particular cause of his death, but Hoda, as we know, he's been in ill health for some time. He received the COVID vaccine back in January. Right. But unfortunately, it was expected around the royal family that this may come to pass sooner than anyone would have hoped.
He was hospitalized, I remember, he was hospitalized for a while, and then he was released about 3 weeks ago, and I think people were wondering, well, he's released, is he better or not? And
there's a big celebration that had been planned for his 100th birthday on June 10th, and I think there was a lot of hope that perhaps he could hang on until then, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, Prince Philip's tireless support was a mainstay of the Queen's reign, the longest in the history of the British monarchy. NBC's Keir Simmons has a look at his long life of duty and devotion.
This is how the world knew him, standing by his beloved wife, the Queen, her loyal and lifelong companion. But from the beginning, life conspired to make Prince Philip his own man. He was born in Greece, into that country's royal family, and exiled with them when he was still a small child. A Spartan education in northern Scotland moulded a tough-minded achiever. He saw action on several battleships during World War II, a brilliant and brave naval officer. His 1947 wedding to Elizabeth lifted the spirits of post-war Britain. The next year, Prince Charles was born. 3 more children would follow. But Philip's world changed forever in 1952 when King George VI died and his daughter Elizabeth became Queen. From then on, his main role was as the monarch's consort and counsel. His relationship with the Queen, featured in the popular TV series The Crown.
Are you my wife or my queen?
I'm both.
His often brusque style and numerous gaffes made headlines at home and abroad, making a racist remark about the Chinese, killing a tiger, an endangered species, on a trip to India. His defense, some of his actions and comments were taken out of context. More recently, the Duke finally turned in his driver's license at age 97 following a car crash that injured 2 people and caused his Land Rover to overturn. But over time, Philip gained respect as an honest broker within his family, even as his children lunged from divorce to tragedy. He became an inspiration for the younger royals. His greatest achievement was simply being there for his wife, the Queen.
Without the Duke in her life, one can only imagine that it will take its toll on the Queen, because for so many years he has been her strength and stay, her rock, her friend, her advisor.
He lived to see his grandson Prince William's marriage to Kate Middleton in 2011, celebrated the birth of his great-grandson, the third in line to the throne, Prince George, and was there for the wedding of Prince Harry to Meghan Markle. At age 96, after more than 22,000 solo public appearances, Prince Philip retired from royal duties. His legacy, a lifetime of service to his nation and his wife, the Queen. Keir Simmons, NBC News, London.
And just in the last few moments, Buckingham Palace announcing that Prince Philip has passed away at the age of 99. And we expect more word from the palace in the coming hours. But at the moment, they just said that he died peacefully at home in Windsor Castle. Let's bring in Daisy McAndrew. She's a journalist and royal commentator. And Daisy, unfortunately, this had been somewhat expected as Prince Philip was in failing health for some time now.
Yes, that's true. And as you were just saying a few minutes ago, he had been in hospital for a number of weeks. He had been transferred from one hospital to another to have what we would describe as a minor procedure. We understood it to be on his heart, which has given him trouble over the last few years. And then, of course, he was released from hospital just a couple of weeks ago and taken home. That was the last public sight of Prince Philip. He was seen in the back of that car going home. And of course, yes, it's not a huge surprise that he has passed away, but it also, as you were saying, his 100th birthday was coming up very, very soon, just in a few weeks' time, and he would have been the first consort, the first partner of a reigning monarch to have reached at such an extremely old age, an impressive milestone. So there will be sadness about that, but of course much more. There'll be celebration, I think, of his life.
Would you put this in context for us a little bit, Daisy, if you wouldn't mind? Because I think a lot of people, at least on this side of the pond, we know of the Queen, we know of Prince, we know of all the princes. But when you hear about Prince Philip, you wonder just what will that mean? What will that loss mean to England?
It will be a big shock, because if you think about it, anybody in this country who's over, let's